I know that this is a controversial subject and some of you will instantly think that I am clickbaiting, but that's not really the point of this video. Here I actually just want to reassure players who are maybe thinking about getting into New World that the game isn't dead and it doesn't seem like it'll be dying anytime soon. Because let's face it, when we look at the controversy that New World has had over the period of time since its launch, a lot of people are probably thinking, alright, that game's going to die and I'm not going to touch it. The player base was decreasing because they saw, articles from Eurogamer, etc., all showing that the player base was declining. But I think news of its death was probably greatly exaggerated. And we're what now, 2.5 months after the game came out? I think now is a good time to address this. And sure, it's true, if you look at the numbers and you look at when the game was first released, you might have seen like 1 million concurrent players, and you look at the numbers now where you're seeing maybe like 100,000 players concurrent. You might be thinking, oh, that is a massive decline and the game is surely dying. So I don't think that the question is actually unfair. However, if we do look at the graphs and you can look at the player charts on Steam and you can look at the Twitch views and stuff like that, it definitely seems like that the decline is steadying off. Basically, it's a non-linear curve that is straightening up. Now, whilst the play numbers do seem to be dropping ever so slightly, it's definitely now not at a rate that I think would be worrying for either Amazon or players of the game. So I definitely don't think we're anywhere near Amazon being like, oh my god, we're losing too many players. The fact that it's straightening off and like leveling off sort of means that the game's going to be around for a little while longer at least. And it's interesting that we are looking at all of the figures on Steam, but really Steam is weirdly an unfair comparison. And that's not because Steam's numbers are wrong. If anything, it's actually because Steam numbers are right and all the other MMOs are essentially misleading one way or another. We've never actually seen a big new MMO like this released purely on Steam. We've probably seen like smaller MMOs, but Final Fantasy, Elder Scrolls, World of Warcraft, etc., they all have other platforms that aren't just purely Steam. Because if you looked at just the Steam numbers for Final Fantasy 14, you might conclude that it's not as popular as New World, but obviously that's a little bit absurd. It's because Final Fantasy has its own client and a lot of players use that. Now you can look up stats on websites like MMOpopulation.com and you might see New World as 5th, but really a lot of this is actually just guesswork because we don't have concrete numbers on a lot of the games, but we do on New World. The main point there is that we don't have anything reasonable to compare it against and what kind of drop-off we can expect for a new MMO like this. You might all be familiar with the World of Warcraft subscriber chart, where from release to like Wrath of the Lich King, it would just continuously went up, and then obviously it did decline after that. But really, that's actually subscriber numbers and not concurrent population. So I don't know about you, but when I was playing World of Warcraft, there was quite a lot of times when I was subscribed, but actually not playing it. And there was actually a recent interview with Amazon where they directly pointed out the fact that a lot of the players who were playing when the game came out and was live, they were playing like a lot of hours, like 12-hour shifts, etc. And now what's happened over time is that the same number of players are playing, but they are playing less, thus dropping the concurrent player base. Now, obviously, that has been combined with a lot of players actually just stopping, so it's really hard to tell how much of each factor is involved, but I'm pretty sure we can tell that a lot of players actually have left. But it's worth pointing out that not all of the decrease is just due to players stopping playing. Some of it is to the time that each player is playing less. And it definitely makes sense that a lot of people will have left because of what Amazon and New World was at the start. We had massive server queues and maybe they didn't have enough servers in EU quick enough and stuff like that. But the game has essentially contributed to its own demise in a sense because you've had gold dupes, trading dupes, invulnerability glitches and exploits, laggy wars and all kinds of stuff. And I think it's safe to say that without these, the game may not have experienced quite as a significant drop-off. And in the short term, you might think that the outlook for New World isn't actually that promising because we've just had the new patch for Final Fantasy, I believe, the new expansion, and the World of Warcraft 9.2 patch is also coming out soon. Blizzard trying to recoup some of the players that it's lost because of, many reasons. But the point there is that the drought of content that New World was sort of released into is essentially going away. We're going to have Lost Ark as well, I think is that in February, I think it is. So we have to be wary about what will happen to New World with the current realm of MMOs actually changing. Now, onto the game itself. A couple of weeks back, actually when the game sort of just came out, I made a bit of a clickbaity video. Again, I apologize for the clickbaity, but I've just got to get you to watch the videos. And I was talking about a New World will die if they don't do this, and the this that I was referring to was essentially new content. But the new content I thought we were going to see was maybe like hard modes for the expeditions, PvP arenas, that kind of thing. And I still sort of stand by that. I think we need to see that kind of content, preferably sooner rather than later, because when you look at New World at the minute, you might think there's actually not that much content. We've got 1 battleground and 2 endgame dungeons, and really that's about it. You do have the PvE arena bosses and you do have the invasions and stuff, but really it's a poster bit of content where you've got 2 dungeons and you've got 1 battleground. But we have had a glimpse of the kind of content that New World is planning on introducing over time. Now, we don't have a roadmap yet, and they keep talking about how eventually they do want to deliver a roadmap, although I'm not necessarily sure it's going to be needed depending on what they're planning. Anyway, for the first November update, we had a new weapon. That was pretty cool. And then for the December update, we're getting some crafting changes, which are pretty significant, which I think was probably the core of this update, because we also have the seasonal winter event, which is pretty interesting that they're doing that. However, for me, it's not necessarily going to fill the niche of like a PvP arena would. That's going to be like content that will bring people back to the game. This is essentially just to satisfy the players who are currently playing the game. But all in all, I think we are now looking at like consistent big patches once every month, and if they keep doing that for a year, then I'm pretty excited where we end up. It's also worth pointing out that a lot of the patches that they've been doing, apart from the major content ones, have been fixes to the issues that they have created with the other patches, which is an unfortunate sad truth of the situation. And let's face it as well, a lot of sentiment around New World has actually been relatively negative. You could check out Reddit, you could check out Discord, and you'd see a lot of people actually complaining about it. And then the latest controversy that they did was that they were going to have it so that your gear was scaled to your high watermark score, which is going to be in the future called expertise. They have since listened to the community and have decided to mostly scrap that, which a lot of people are now happy about. And when you look at it now, there isn't really much to be complaining about on a big scale, which I think is good for the game, and it puts it on a good footing going forward. I don't think the game is dead, and I don't think the game is necessarily dying. You could look at the slight decrease in plays and be like, oh, that's actually going to end up at 0, but what I think is more likely to happen is that we're going to get these content updates every month, and eventually the numbers are going to slowly but surely start rising. I don't know at what point that will be, hopefully soon, and I think probably early 2022 is where I'd personally be thinking that number's going to start going up. But no, I don't think the game is dying, and if you're thinking about playing it and you want to play that kind of game, then do feel free to jump in. I think you'll be more than satisfied. I think really the next big turning point will be when we see an expansion for the game, and I think we could possibly expect that before the end of 2022, or at least like early 2023. If the numbers don't sort of significantly start getting better after that point, then I think Amazon might be questioning the future of the game. But that's a long way away, and there's a lot of fun to be had playing the game right now. So let me know if you're having fun, or let me know if you're angry that I made a video even considering the possibility that the game might die. I'm sure you will anyway in the comments below. Other than that, have a most beautiful day. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe. Goodbye.